Jill Simonian from thefabmom.com is a Christian and teaches her children those values. And Kristen Chase, co-publisher of coolmompics.com, is here as well. She's an atheist. Now, Jill, let me start with you. Do you think that you can raise kids who both belong to a religion and are also independent, free thinkers?
I think you can, and I do think you can, because that's what I'm striving to do. I do want to say, congratulations, you guys. If you ever want to get people fired up, you talk about politics, religion, or parenting, and you looped all of them all in one thing.
But never at a dinner party. But never at a dinner party.
No, never at a dinner party. On TV only,
yeah,
right? On,
exactly.
on the internet. I do have respect for very, very different ways that people choose to raise their kids, because each life experience is different, and I do have respect for people who don't believe in God. But believing in God is something that I was raised with, that I hold very near and dear to who I am. And I do want my children to have that experience that I had in my life. And it's something that does bring us closer together. And I think the point of religion is, if it brings you closer together as a family, then that's a good thing.
Right.
Anything else is not good, but that's a good thing.
Right, and it is so personal. Kristen, you were also raised as a Christian and believing in God, but now you're actually raising your children as atheists. Why?
I am. You know, what's interesting, what Jill said, is that she feels that religion brings people together. And I don't disagree with her, but I don't know if that necessarily makes a good moral citizen, which is what Tracy's piece was talking about. For me personally, it's not just the judgment and shame and guilt that I think is perpetuated by religion in its various forms, of course, not just Christianity. And oftentimes it can be directed outward or inward, but for me, just the idea that we're not in charge of our own thoughts and actions and choices, I just don't like the idea that we're giving away our power to someone else, something else, something that we don't know actually exists.
But what if your children were to grow up and choose to then believe in God? How would you feel about that?
Well, I think that's an important question. And of course, as a secular parent, and you can talk to other secular parents, it's not that we hate religion, it's that we embrace the idea of choice and understanding. And so if that's their choice, then I absolutely support them. I just want to make sure that they're informed and accepting of all things, which I don't know, you know, when you ascribe to one, you're going to get.
Tracy's actually still with us on the phone. Tracy, do you feel like you have to prove to people that you are a good person, even though now you are agnostic?
I definitely feel like that's something I had to do growing up in the South, and that's a big reason why I left. And I have to say, like, living in the west side of Los Angeles, it almost never comes up. I mean, no other parents are asking where our church is. That's, in 4 years of living here, I've only had another set of parents try to even encourage us to attend church with them one time, as opposed to something that I was constantly being recruited for the whole time I lived in the South. So not anymore, but I've definitely experienced the kind of judgment that comes from that reflexive assumption, often by Christians, which is what I mostly grew up with in the South, in Tennessee, that if you don't believe in God, there's something wrong with you, there's something suspicious about you, and you're definitely not as good of a person, just less morally centered, just automatically.
Yeah,
so
Tracy,
that's really the thing about it that turns me off.
Go ahead, Jill. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just want to jump in because, Tracy, I totally get you. And I do respect this article immensely, because there's nothing more that I love than fiery debate. But at the same time, a lot of people judge Christians as being all extremists. And that's not the case. There are extremists, and there are, you know, there's a large group of Christians and people that belong to, you know, other religions that do want to raise their kids in that way, that are not extremists. And we're not racist, and we're not hateful, and we don't guilt our kids into doing things that they don't want.
Kristen, yeah, go ahead, Kristen, go ahead. Kristen, before you weigh in, I want you to weigh in, Kristen, but I want to put this out there. Well, hold on one second, Kristen. I just want to put this out there. I'm wondering if, Kristen, for instance, were you raised in an extreme Christian household, or was it a moderate Christian household?
I would say it was moderate to more extreme. You know, it kind of went back and forth. And later on, actually, in my, you know, like early college years, I would say it was actually Catholic. So it kind of fluctuated a bit. But yeah, I mean, moderate to extreme. But I feel like it's true. Every religion has, you know, its extremes. But you don't see, like, angry atheists, you know, causing wars and hating on, you know, the LGBT community here. And I think that's an important point to make.
Right. That is an important point to make, and I totally agree with you. And I do want to say one other thing. Look at all of us. We were three parents. We're all here with our own individual opinions, but look at how this religion is making us competitive with each other. And it's turning parenting into this competitive thing where you believe in God, you don't believe in God enough, you don't. It's crazy, and it's mind-blowing.
Well, and I'm wondering now, sort of in this modern age, why we feel as if we need to all be put into boxes, right? And I'm wondering, with children involved, do they feel the pressure to be put into these boxes when they have conversations at their schools? And and it's, am I Christian? Am I Jewish? Am I Muslim? Am I atheist? Whatever religion it is that you have, do you need to be put into that box to feel like you belong? Kristen, go ahead.
Well, I think what's fascinating is that, look, religion is the majority here. People who identify as atheists have really been vilified over the last, I want to say, at least 25 years. And still, even in 2015, there is a negative stereotype about us. And I think it's not necessarily that it's like we are against people who are religious. That's never been the case if you talk to any secular parent. It's that it's the perception of us that we are raising our children in a way that is immoral and not ethical, when on the contrary, that, and this is what the study said, is that we are raising responsible adults who trust their instincts and are empathic. And I think that is really what we're trying to get across, is that you can be a good person and not go to church on Sunday.
Right. But Tracy, do you think that they're just responding maybe to the fact that they are also being, the people that are religious are also being put into that corner, into that box, and stereotypes are also being placed against them?
Well, I mean, of course there are stereotypes about extremists, but by and large, 75% of the people in this country believe in God, and that's something they lean on. It goes constantly upheld as an example or proof that someone's a good person. They're a Christian. They believe in God. It's still in our money. It's everywhere. So atheists or agnostics, we're the minority. I mean, I have a 4-year-old. She hasn't come home yet and said anything about Christianity or church or religion because it just hasn't really come up yet. So really for me, it's more about, I don't want to explain the world to her this way.
Right.
This is not how I want to explain to her that the world exists because of God. If that comes up later and she's interested, we'll definitely talk about it. But she's going to be the minority. Most of her friends are probably going to be from families who believe in God. And if that's something she wants to do, I will encourage it and support her all the way. But, yeah, I mean, I agree with what's being said here. It's really not about criticizing Christianity and saying it's a terrible thing. I was sort of being tongue-in-cheek in the piece by turning it around and saying, yeah, in spite of all this stuff about Christians, I'll still let my friends, my kids be friends with them.